All right, Pappy. We have some questions for you from Sawyer. And the first question is, what are some of the fun things you like to do when you were young?
Well, first of all, good morning, Sawyer. Uh, you know you're the youngest Reynolds in the family, and I'm sorry it took me several days to get back to you with some answers from your questions. Uh, it's really hard to remember a lot of those things because it happened so long ago, but I made a couple notes because of things I thought of to answer your questions. So let's do it. Um, I remember in elementary school, um, a good buddy of mine, his name was Ronnie, he was probably my best friend growing up. We were in probably fourth or fifth grade, and we were at an older elementary school with a playground in the back. And one day, Ronnie and I challenged the rest of the class in a game of kickball. And kickball is played by somebody rolls a ball to the batter and they kick it and then they run the bases just like in baseball. Uh, Needless to say, Ronnie and I kicked butt. We we beat the whole class. It was like 25 versus 2, but we didn't have any trouble uh, winning that game, and it was fun. And we played a lot of kickball back in those days. Um, then in fifth or sixth grade, they built a brand new elementary school right across the street from where I lived. We lived in 1028 East Orange Street in a little duplex, and it was just great to be able to walk across the street and get to the playground, which I went to very often. Um, the playground had a big hardtop area, you know, a paved area that had a kickball area. It had a basketball court with lines, and the baskets were a little bit lower than what you'd see in a college basketball game or a pro game. And it was just, we had pickup games all the time, you know, and they also had fields. You know, you could play touch football. It had a baseball field, and it was just great to have that facility so close to where I grew up. And I went there a lot, spent a lot of hours there, and it was no problem gathering up kids from the neighborhood uh, to have a pickup game in basketball or baseball or whatever. And those were a lot of fun, a lot of fun. Um, oh, another thing, I forget how old I was, but I had a job once a week. Uh, we had delivered 2 cans of potato chips. Each can had 6 bags in, and the bags were 8-ounce size. And we sold them, they were priced at 35 cents a bag. Nowadays it's 10 times that. And I would go door to door in the neighborhood and ring the doorbell, and I would ask the neighbors if they wanted to buy a bag of potato chips. And I got the bags for 25 cents, so every bag of potato chips I sold, I would make 10 cents on. And if I sold all 12 bags, that would be $1.20. And that $1.20 would go a long way back then. I would use it to pick up a soft pretzel across the street at the bus stop. Or another thing, Ronnie and I, my good friend, we went down to a little store called Flamingos, and we'd go in and get a Coke, and then there was a pinball machine in there, and that cost 5 cents for a game, and we got pretty good at it, so we won a lot of free games, and we usually only had to put 1 or 2 nickels in it to get the free games, and then we could be in there for 45 minutes playing the pinball machines. I don't know if you've ever done that or not, but it's fun. You know, it's a game, and the ball bounces around, and you use flippers to try to keep it alive and get a good score to get free games. So that was a fun time for me too. I also remember out in front of our house was a sidewalk, and sometimes my dad would get 2 gloves, and we'd just play throw and catch for a half hour. And I remember breaking a windshield by throwing a bad throw to my dad, and it hit the windshield, and it put a crack in the windshield. He wasn't happy about it, but it wasn't hard to repair. But that was also fun. Another thing, my mom and dad on Sunday evenings will allow us to invite a friend or two in to watch TV. And one of the most popular shows on back then was Sunday night, and the name of this show was Bonanza. And I think your dad showed me not too long ago where they actually filmed that TV show. And what was special about that show was that my mom, she was a working mom, and she worked at RCA, which makes TV and other appliances. And we were one of the first people on the block that had a color television. Everybody else had black and white. It wasn't a large TV, but to get color was really special, and it was really fun to have friends in. Our living room wasn't that large, but the friends would sit on the floor, and we'd watch Bonanza and enjoy that very much. Let's see. Yeah. I remember my mom and dad got me a simple 3-speed bicycle, and I rode that a lot. And a lot of times, a bunch of neighbors would get their bikes out, and we'd have bike races. You know, just maybe a couple 100 yards or something like that. And I had a fast bike, and I seldom lost a race. And the bike was pretty plain and simple, but I got the hang of it, and I'd say had a lot of fun in those bike races. It was a good time. Then, in fact, I'm surprised I even remember this, but we used to get together with a bunch of kids in the neighborhood, and there was an alley right up the street. No cars. I think it was only used for maybe on garbage day when the garbage truck would go through and pick up the garbage out of the cans. And we would play a game called Kick the Can. Now, the game is pretty much the title. Let's say we get 6 or 10 kids out that night. It's usually in the evening, and we play Kick the Can. We would divide the kids into 2 groups. Half would be the ones that hide anywhere in the alley or within 1 block of where we're playing, and the other was the team that was go look for them. So you would hide behind bushes or trash cans or bushes, you know, just anywhere you could hide. And then the other team would count up to, let's say, 30, and then they'd come look for you. If they found you and tagged you, then you would go in an area near this can that's sitting in the alley, and they would be in jail. We called it jail. So as the kids got tagged and go into the jail, the other kids that were hiding, if one of them would be able to sneak up on the can and kick it, then the people in jail escaped. they were able to get out. And then we do that for a while, and then the other team would go hide, and the other team would go hunting. It was just something I think we did pretty much weekly, and that was a lot of fun too. Vance, can you think of any other things that I mentioned to you about fun things?
That's good for now.
Okay.